Welcome back. As mentioned in the previous video, we're going to go through a complete overhaul of our newly created MATLAB course. We are doing this to keep the strengths of the program, but fix the areas of weaknesses. Before we begin, please remember that you can pause the video at any time to populate and link any necessary elements. While not our first or even our biggest area of weakness, one of the issues was student burnout occurs around March or April. This, coupled with various other factors, have pushed us to create a half-year course. The format is still the same with every other day for 45 minutes. The main difference is that MATLAB, in this new form, ends halfway through the year. We mentioned other factors. One factor is this allows the possibility of other elective opportunities for the students. If they have a full year math lab and literacy lab, their choices are very narrow, if any, for them to take an enjoyable, less core academic focused elective. Another big factor worth mentioning is that this opens up a back-end push-in model as an addition to or a separate way of offering intervention. But we're going to get more into that later. Now that we have the course changed to a semesterized program, we're going to talk about the content and structure. So I'm just going to show you this new one. I've already started populating, and I cut it off at 90 days because that's what marks our total days in class. The structure will be very similar to how we laid things out throughout all of our previous videos. We will only apply minor readjustments along the way. The content is where the biggest shift will occur. This is still not a major task other than it simply being time-consuming to update. In our previous model, we saw the students every other day for 45 minutes for an entire year. Therefore, we spend a maximum of 90 days with our students. During these 90 days, we delivered 3 out of 5 domains, leaving geometry and probability domain to be solely covered by their regular math teacher. Now that we're shifting to a total or maximum of 45 days, because again, every other day, with this subset of students, we're going to also switch to a laser-focused approach. Each math lab for the entire semester will target one domain. In other words, there will be one math lab called MATLAB NS, which would stand for MATLAB Number System. Another math lab would be called MATLAB RP, which would stand for MATLAB Ratios and Proportional Relationships. The third math lab would be called MATLAB EE, with the EE standing for Expressions and Equations. There is a fourth version that we'll get into later. These programs will follow our normal structure, but instead of progressing through the 3 domains, we will go deeper into the domain it's named after. Students will be placed into these labs based off of their specific area of weakness instead of their overall weakness in math in general. The reason for this is to touch on that other flaw we mentioned in a previous video, which was not getting the students to a mastery level. This type of shift offers us the ability to better pursue getting the students to master a specific domain. We're going to spend a little bit of time fleshing out how to make this work. In order to do this, I need to tell you about the 4th and last version of MATLAB. The 4th version is a push-in model. The push-in model is where a MATLAB teacher, during a period that fits into the master schedule, would push into a 6th or 7th grade regular math class. These are set up in lieu of one of the other 3 models and are specifically set up to provide intervention to the students that need it based on environmental or behavioral issues being a big cause behind their math weakness or weaknesses. Since these students need to be in their regular math class anyway, the second teacher is in there to provide assistance to both the teacher and student with content and any redirection needs. Let's take a look at our musical focus and mini lessons. We may populate them with something that looks like this. Our new format allowed for 12 spots or days really, for our musical focus and mini lessons. You can see that the quick brainstormed proposal tried to work its way through the major topics within the domain, constantly building towards on-grade level material within the mini lessons. The musical focus questions, while in the expressions and equations domain and some in earlier operations and algebraic thinking domain, stayed true to its purpose, offering spiraling type questions that are often not keyed in on by typical texts. This is not a finalized list of exactly what I or you should want to do for the expressions and equations math lab for 6th grade, but it's a really good start to then mold this a little bit better. All right, I'm just going to keep scrolling through so we get through the 12 and you can get a good glance. I'm just going to stop for a second just so you can see. We have the musical focus question, the answer, and obviously you'll do your song and all that, the same format we did before, but these are just new updated questions to repopulate that document that we created in an earlier video. So then we have the mini lesson title, we have the 5th grade anchor and the 6th grade target that we're trying to approach, and then what it's all about here, and here's some examples. And as I said, we had 12 of them to go through throughout the year, 12 spots. So we would go through and relink. So we have mini focus 1, then we have the mini lesson 1 for 6th grade, mini lesson 1 for 7th grade. We would go through all of these and link them with our newly designed, or updated, I should say, curriculum. And as I said, we have 12 of them. So that takes us up to this date here. And then again, we're going to finish off in a more engaging way at the end of the year. All right, so we're at a good stopping point for this video, so let's end here and we will see you in the next video.